Hi everyone, welcome to a Chandler's channel. I'm Tracy and I'm your host, and this session is our weekly reading for June 17th to 23rd. So hold on for that if you're here. As always, I like to touch back on our previous week's reading, which was right on the money for me. Whitehawk had said that he didn't have good news for us and that it was going to be a bad week, and he showed himself as not feeling, like himself or an imposter, and he was very fatigued and very weary and depressed, and he just needed to rest, and the only thing that would help him would for people to pray for him. And so my story for the week is that I may have mentioned briefly that I suffered with concussions. I've had post-concussion syndrome since May 11th, 2011, which is when the original blow to my head happened, and it wasn't through sports. And it's just given me a really, really hard time. And so I'll get better and I'll get better, but then I'll just hit my head on the cupboard or, the car door, or in this case, this past week, the freezer door. I just misjudged and I came up and I hit my head back here. But before that, the dog, I had him on the leash and I was sitting on the ground, and he got, spooked. And so he took the leash behind my head, and so the leash hit my head, his paws hit my head this way, and then he came back this way. So I thought, oh God, this is not good. I know it's not good. And, sure enough, 4 days into it, the concussion symptoms came on fully. And do you believe it? The day of my birthday, you know what I did on my birthday? I stayed in bed all day because I had no choice, because I had concussion symptoms. So for me, Whitehawk was right on the money with that, and I won't keep going on concussions, but I do want to do a video solely on concussions, and it's not what my focus is of my channel, but I think it's very important, and because I've had a lot of experience with it, I'm going to do a video. Anyways, that's my week. I hope you're shaped up better. It may have come to you in a different way. Perhaps you were just depressed. There's many ways it can come to you. Often the message is the one message, but it is different for everyone. That's how magical and brilliant Spirit is when they speak. Okay, so on to our message for you, our wonderful viewers, and I'll go get Whitehawk and see what he has to say for today, or this upcoming week, sorry. Indeed, he says, that certainly was some whack, he said, that you took on your head, Nespa, he says. Was it not? And he's talking about my original head injury. And he says, yes, and we are grateful that you are still here today, he says, and able to provide for these ones who are our faithful viewers. And he blesses himself and he says, amen. He says, although the previous week was indeed very bleak, he says, what I can say for you for this upcoming week, he says, is that it will be a week of bliss. It will be a week of adjustment. It will not be a week of water, he says, nor will it be a week of breathing. And the reason I say these things to you, dear children, is simply this. We are headed into a drought. He says, one the likes of you have never seen in history, he says. I do not like to be the purveyor of bad news, he says, but this is its reality. So if you can, he says, find yourself by a body of water, he says. Splash yourself with water, fill yourself with water, he says. I see people splashing themselves. I see people, swimming, bathing in the water. He says, indeed, just get in to the water, he says. Indeed, he says, because water is one of our best healers, he says, for replenishment here on earth. So wherever you find yourself this week, find yourself next to some water for refreshment, he says. For when we go through a drought physically, and he's meaning the earth, he says indeed the earth, it affects us wholly. It affects our body. It affects our mind. It affects each and every one of us. He says all the same, yet all differently. So your homework this week, my children, is to replenish, is to find yourself near water and replenish, 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 he says. And I'm watching, sorry, got distracted. A spider walk across my my floor. Fortunately, I'm not frightened of spiders, but there it is. He says, indeed, distractions, they're not always bad, but they're not always good either, are they? And I go, maybe, yeah. He goes, so replenish, young ones. He says, but do not be afraid of the drought, he says. For drought can sometimes bring up things, he says, that perhaps we didn't want to see before, he says. It is good for the soul. It is cleansing. It is dry. It is pasty. But nonetheless, it is good for the soul. So be blessed, my children, this week as you walk in drought conditions this week. God bless, he says, as he gives everyone a kiss. And he's on his horse, and it's like, then he kind of does that whole hi-oh silver thing, and he turns around and he takes off the opposite direction, away from us, leaving us in drought-like conditions in like the desert. Thank you, Whitehawk. So, like it or not, that is our weekly reading. I did get our topic of the week reading Summer Solstice done before I hit my head on the freezer. I did it at the same time as the Body Wisdom one, so that one's ready to go. So hopefully by next week when I do our weekly reading, I should be a little better. The good news is that in doing this, this isn't very stimulating, because when the light that I'm using is stimulating for someone who has concussion, yes, but like it's not like there's noise or that I'm having a conversation with a person or anything, right? Because that can be very stimulating for a person who has concussion as well. So that's it, my friend. I hope that this upcoming week you find yourself by a body of water. There is nothing like swimming or getting into a pool or a lake or a river or the ocean, if you're fortunate enough to have one close enough to you. Replenish, replenish, replenish. And we'll see you here for the topic of the week reading on the summer solstice. See you then. I'm Tracy for Chandler's Channel. God bless. Take care. Oh, right. Did I forget to say, subscribe. It's free. Like, comment, keep it clean, be kind, and share. See you then.